Hey everybody, welcome back to the 49th episode of Taps and Patience. I am AJ with Design the Everything here with Harrison of Precision Ingenuity, and we have Curt of Confounded Machine.
Hello.
Yeah, I just had to go frantically check your Instagram to make sure I didn't say that wrong or introduce you wrong.
No, you're good. You're good.
How are you doing?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. So Curt, tell us, give us a quick introductory pitch to your business and how you got into machining. We don't need the full with intolerance intro, but give us an idea of who you are. What you do.
I basically got into machining pens like years ago I had no plans to machine pens. I just wanted to build parts for RC airplanes. And then found out that machining was like way more fun than that. And just one thing kind of led to the other. I didn't even intend on making pens. I named my business because I wanted to make something else. And pens just started working out and I started to really like it. And it's just kind of snowballed from there.
What sort of equipment do you... Oh, there's that lag. All right. What sort of equipment do you have at the moment?
Right now, I got to do most of the turning on old hard-inch HNC that I converted over to like all modern equipment. And I have a really modified Geo 704 mill and just a tiny little lathe, like a little benchtop jeweler's lathe for just like polishing now. It basically doesn't get used for much of anything.
Yeah, I'm very jealous of your lathe. Like, I know you put a lot of effort into it. And if you put a ton of work into that thing, but now it's a really cool machine.
Oh yeah, it's like brutally accurate. Like I'm a big fan. I don't so much like the oil aspect of it. Like everything gets covered in oil, but it's hard to beat the repeatability of it. It's just I like it.
Is there a reason you went oil instead of coolant?
That specific lathe is like a flatbed way lathe, and they don't recommend any kind of water base. I mean, nowadays this was like in the 70s, so we probably have like solubles that would work. But it was in mint shape when I got it running oil. So I'm like, I'm just going to keep running oil on it and never have to worry about it.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
They say once a machine is running like oil or coolant, you don't really want to switch back and forth.
Yeah.
It's just bad things happen.
Yeah. I read a bunch of forum posts and I was like, yeah, this is not a road I want to go down. It still meets like factory spec calibration on like all the movements. So I'm like, you know what? It's happy. I'm just going to leave it be. I'll deal with slimy fingers.
I'm sure with the oil, your tool life is probably phenomenal, though.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan. I mean, if I bought another machine, I would probably want to stick with oil just because of like swapping between machines. It's nice to have oil and oil, but lights out machining on an oil machine is also more scary, especially titanium. So
that's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
So, how many models of pen do you have at the moment? Is it just one, or do you have a couple?
I used to have a few of them, and now I've just kind of done a bolt action. And I basically there's a few kind of options and flavors for it, but it's essentially just one bolt action, one style of pen. It comes in 3 different lengths, and that's kind of kept me swamped for the last year now. So I have more on the burner that I want to bring into fruition, but it's not happening.
I understand that.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
And are your pens all titanium all the way through, or are there non-titanium components?
No, these ones are. I started off with brass, like everybody started off with fairly easy to machine materials, and yeah, now it's titanium throughout. Springs titanium, screws titanium, everything's titanium. So
you did the I don't remember what you called them, but like the kind of shipwreck style brass pens.
Yeah.
That is how I found you originally.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, those are a ton of fun to do, but if you cook them too long and put that patina on them, you start eating into the material, and then I've had failure after failure on those things. But yeah, when they come out nice, they come out really nice. I do like them.
Yeah, I think when I found you, I was doing the brass tops, and I was looking for different finishes to put on them.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I think
nice.
that's how I ran across that one. I may have even bugged you about how you did it at the time.
Yeah, maybe. I don't recall, but yeah, it's a fun process, time consuming, but yeah, it produces some pretty cool results.
So one thing as I'm kind of looking through some of your stuff here that's really catching my eye is I really like your packaging. Are you doing all that in-house, or is that something that you're having done outside?
No, right now I'm doing it in house, and I think this presale that I just launched is going to be the last of all like my in-house manufactured boxes because it's insane the amount of work it takes. It takes so much time, and I'm so excited to be done with it. So, yeah,
You make the whole box yourself, right?
box everything. Yeah, like I
Yeah.
was for the longest time just searching for someone to do it for me. But like all the samples I'd get would just be junk, and I mean, trying to stick with like local companies. I'm Canadian, so I'm trying to stick with Canadian companies. And it's just like, oh, you're making 10,000. It's like, well, no. It's like, okay, well, then we don't want to talk to you. It's okay. Well, fair enough. Like, we'll find a different way around this.
Yeah, I think I stole the idea of laser cut packaging from you too. Now that I think about it,
Oh, see, no, I think I stole it from you. So
did you steal it from me?
yeah, for sure.
Maybe it wasn't you then.
I think you were doing it way back in the day for, I can't even remember what you were selling. It was pretty early on. I can't remember. I think you were lighting them up on that little K40, and I thought it was cool. So
I don't remember what I was doing.
I don't remember what it was. Yeah, it was before the tops, so I don't know what that was.
We had wood packaging. Yep. I don't know. That may not have been me because we used all wood packaging from the tops and earlier.
I don't know. Anyways, it doesn't matter, I suppose. But.
Yeah. So, how did you end up making pins? You said that wasn't your goal originally. How did you work your way there?
Yeah, well, like I had initially I built a CNC router just actually when I was living in my apartment to cut airplane parts for RC airplanes. And then I decided I needed round parts. So I bought a little tag lathe. And then I was like, well, as soon as you buy a lathe, you're like, oh, either you're going to make a top or you're going to make a pen. And I just made like a super, super simple pen out of like some silver steel drill rod. And yeah, really liked it. And then just made a few more and then eventually sold one on Etsy. And I was like, whoa, people are willing to buy these? And then, yeah, just kind of kept going from there. So,
do you know what year that was, give or take?
2014, maybe? Somewhere between 2012 and 2014. Where I actually like sold a pen.
That's like the golden age of pens on Kickstarter.
Yeah, I think
that.
Yeah, I think,
or maybe the beginning of the golden age.
Yeah, Tactile Turn was launching. Brad from I can't remember his company right now. He was producing some cool titanium pens back then. Yeah, it was pretty early on.
Yeah, the little knife guy. What is this? What is that company's name?
Tactical Keychains. I think that's him. Anyways.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. And about how many pens are you making, a month now, if you're willing to share that? And are you doing this full time? You are.
This is full time,
right?
Yeah. This is my full time gig. It kind of varies. I calculate it by days. So I think the best day I've had is 3, which is not a lot of pens to be making, but yeah, it typically wavers between about 2 and 3 pens a day. So
What's the most time consuming process?
Oh, hand finishing. Finishing. Always finishing. Yeah, it's like the one thing I'm trying to get away from. It's just hard. It's just hard to make something look really nice directly off the machine, especially when people are like taking loops to them and all kinds of craziness. Like you have to get everything on point.
So what are your finishing processes, or what are your finishes that you offer right now? And what is the hand finishing you're doing?
So the 3 finishes I offer would be just like a satin finish, which is basically how it comes off the machine, and then just touched up to take any tooling marks off. Then you have your standard tumbled finish, and then a blasted finish. So I use like a fine glass bead to do a blasted finish as well. Similar to like a Zerk blast. I think I'm going to eventually flip it over to a Zerk blast. A lot of knife makers use that. And so yeah, it's one of my favorites right now. Honestly, it's pretty easy to do, and it looks super awesome and it wears really well.
I've also seen you do some pretty funky stuff on anodization.
Oh yeah, the entropic anodizing, like the crazy blues and purples. Yeah, those are fun to do. Once again, time consuming, but they're popular.
And to be clear, this is not Timascus, correct?
Nope, that's just plain titanium. Yeah, it just develops a really interesting anodizing pattern.
Is that like a in-house something that you came up with? Is it something that people could research and figure out on their own, or how did that even come to be?
Yeah, it's actually I first saw it. I've seen it in the past. I just didn't know how to do it, and I reached out to Split 141, Triaxis, Yeah, and
Yep.
we
John?
discussed, John, we talked about it a little bit, and he kind of set me hip on how to do it and just kind of work it from there. And yeah, it's a really cool process. If you look up, I'm fairly sure it's entropic. If you look up entropic finish, you can get a lot of information on it.
Gotcha.
Are you?
Do you mind giving me just like the quick rundown of it? Because I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, of course. Hold the phone here. There we go. Yeah, it's basically just like a heat anodizing, and it's just the way you dunk it. Yeah, you end up with these crazy weird patterns. It's a super simple process, but like the fine or the lines you have between temperature, like if you go too much, it looks like junk, and if you don't go hot enough, it looks like junk. So it's like, I think that's why a lot of people don't do it. Is just it's annoying.
Huh, so it's not even electrical?
Nope. That one's just pure heat.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
That's
once you get the feel for it, yeah, you can get some really, really good results. Lots of knife scales. So yeah, it's people seem to like it.
That's awesome. How do you come up with like what you're gonna make? Is that something that like you do like a batch of something, or do you like go, man, I'm gonna make this style of pen for a little while, or do you look at what's selling or what people are asking for?
Yeah, I mean, I've been kind of lucky enough to just be constantly like sold out forever. So I just make what people like, but I'm doing pre-sales now. I used to do first come, first serve just because it seemed like less pressure just to build everything and not have like a deadline to deliver. But people don't like jumping on a website and trying to, get an item and get cart sniped. So I switched over to pre-sales like a few months ago, and that seems to be working well. I mean, they still sell out rather quickly, but at least people don't have to be just, waking up at ungodly times if they're on the other side of the earth or whatnot. So, and yeah,
how
and
do
then
you
from
run
that,
your pre-sale?
Oh, go ahead.
We all talk at the same time there. How do you run your pre-sales? Like, how do you manage them? Like, do you just sell them online? And
yeah, I basically just open up my like I have a web store, and I'll open it up at a specific time. I have a big email list, so I send people an email letting them know when the store is going to open up, and then there's usually one or two products, different variants of the same pen essentially, and they can pick it. And then when they pick it, they get presented with a big form. They can enter all their information, and then that gets submitted, and we move from there. So yeah,
that's cool. Or do you take a unique photo of every pen you do, or is it kind of like if you have a batch and it's like, oh, this is the style I'm doing, so you get one of this style?
Yeah, that's actually initially how I started. Is I would do first come first serve, and I would take a picture of every single pen because every single pen is serialized, so each one is unique, if you want to call it that way. So yeah, I would take pictures of everyone, then list every single pen, and then they would sell out. So it's a lot of time taking pictures. But I wanted to develop like a fairly large gallery so people could see kind of what everything looks like. And now the kind of consistency of what I do is fairly uniform. So people can look at past work and be like, oh, that's what I want, and then just select it. So it works better. I don't have to take so many pictures. So that's nice.
That's cool. Let's see here. There's something I was going to ask you, and I can't remember now.
So while Harrison's thinking, so let's say somebody was thinking about making a pen and hopefully selling a bunch of those. Like, what are your top 5 pen design tips? Like, what are the important things that I should, really make sure that I have right in the design that I wouldn't think about necessarily?
I would say, like, make sure that your action, whatever action you choose, like I saw your action, it's cool. I really like it. Make sure it's like super smooth and crazy reliable. Like never sticks, because like people get so ragey about like gritty mechanisms or like mechanisms that work 99% of the time. Like it has to work all the time. That would be like people are nice about it, but I think that's the thing that frustrates people the most is like, oh, this feels like garbage, or it occasionally jams up on me. So that'd probably be my biggest tip.
That's fair. And that's the big issue we had with the first set of prototypes is they were probably 97% reliable or 95.
Right.
It was not where we wanted it to be. And I just haven't gotten a chance to finish fine tuning that mechanism. It's one of the last big things we need to do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. No, I like I said, I like your mechanism. It's super cool. And then just play with it like a ton. It's amazing. Like when you start figuring out how fast people click pens or anything really, and you start doing the math, you're like, oh, like hundreds of thousands of cycles is like nothing. Like you can crush that in months. It's ridiculous.
So I think I remember my question now. So you kind of started off getting into this kind of by accident because you're kind of looking at some RC stuff, which is it seems to be a fun hobby that a lot of machinists had at one point. So with that in mind, to where you've grown today, where do you see yourself going in the future? Like, do you see yourself getting an employee and growing this, or is this something that you just kind of want to keep to yourself and just keep going on by yourself?
Yeah. I mean, like, to use like the cringiest word, like I want it to be a business of like a balance between like my life that I want to live outside of building pens and this. So I don't ever want to employ. I say that now, like talk to me in a year or two. But yeah, I would much rather invest in like equipment as opposed to employees. And I know that's like a double-edged sword, but yeah, no, I definitely don't see hiring people, acquiring more machines for sure. And then just, yeah, getting to the point, like, I don't even know if I'd really want a commercial space. Like right now I work out of my garage, which is so convenient, but there's a lot of shortcomings with that too. You don't have a lot of power. You don't have a lot of space. So yeah, maybe like a small commercial space close to where I am would be kind of a nice mix. I think that you're fairly close to your shop, are you not, Harrison?
Me or
yeah.
I'm within probably 10 to 15 minutes, although we're in the process of buying a new building, which will put me under 10 away.
Okay.
So
that's reasonable.
It's probably 4 or 5 miles from my house, the new shop. So it may be less than that. It might be 3, but looking forward to that. So having it nice and close. It's where it's at right now. It's probably just a little bit too far to be like a comfortable, like I'm just going to go hop in my car and go to it. Like it's not far, but it's inconvenient.
Yeah.
But having it under the 10-minute mark makes it a lot easier to just like, oh, I'm going to go hop in and work for a few minutes. Because if it passes that 10 to 15-minute mark, which the where it's at now does, it's just far enough that it's like, I'm just going to stay home.
Yeah, no. Well, yeah. 10 minutes is almost enough because then it kind of keeps you from just like continuously working. Like you get a better separation. So.
Well, you get a better separation if you can stay at home. Right now, I don't have that luxury.
Yeah, there's definitely something to be said for having I don't want to say that it's not the commute, but having more of a distance away from your shop forces you to kind of maintain a schedule. And like, that commute kind of does actually kind of help segment your day up a little bit better. Because that's one of the problems I have with my shop, which is just in my backyard, is I have a tendency to be rather unpredictable about when I get out here. Some days I get out here at 7 or 8. Some days I get out here at like 9 or 10 or 11. And I don't know, I guess that doesn't work great for me. Like that, I'm not as productive on those days where it's less predictable. I'm generally much more productive when it is more regimented, but I don't know. It just feels like it's less necessary when you are living at your shop, basically.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
And also sometimes I'll be out here, it'll be like 9 o'clock and I'll go, oh, well, I need to make sure I get this part off the mill and get the next pallet started. And then, suddenly it's 11:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to be fair, I would like to have my machine in my garage so I could keep it running as much as I can right now.
Yeah, no, that'd be hugely helpful, especially if you're in a bind right now.
Yeah. So it's that balancing act. And I think the 10-minute-ish mark is like about the perfect distance. Like a little bit under, but that's about the perfect distance to just run in, run out, but still keep a good separation. So I don't know. We'll see. That's what I'm going to keep telling myself.
Yeah, no, I'm curious to see how it plays out for you.
Tormox don't rely on your slab for rigidity, so you could theoretically put it on a trailer and just haul it with you. Unplug it, drive it into your garage, plug it back in, hit cycle start.
I do drive a hybrid, so I could just bypass it, just connect it directly to the electrical circuit.
Have it run while you're driving.
Oh, that'd be hilarious. No, someone's gonna do that now. Someone who listens to this podcast goes, I have a project I need to work on right now. Oh my goodness. So Curt, how long did it take you to develop a following? Just out of curiosity, like as someone who has a business model that seems to be probably primarily not really a marketing deal. It's more of a word of mouth and kind of grows organically.
Hmm.
How'd that work out for you?
I think I kind of got a little bit lucky. Like I jumped on YouTube fairly early on just because it was interesting. And I mean, developed a little bit of an audience there. And I mean, it doesn't take a lot of people if, like, like their friends tell their friends and their friends tell their friends. And it just kind of like, I don't know, like I don't have a humongous following. But like I said, I've never had my head above water for like 2 years now. So either my products are too cheap or, yeah, people just like it. I don't know. I'm super lucky. So that's right place at the right time, I suppose.
Okay. Well, with that in mind, how do you develop your pricing then? If you think you might be too cheap, like do you have some strategies for how you come up with your pricing, or do you look at how much physical labor and material? Like, is it a strict my pricing is based off of how much energy I put into it, or is it somewhat market determined where it's like, okay, this is a really popular product, so I can get a little bit more for it, regardless of the amount of time put into it? Because I find that it seems like the more popular a product is, the less attached it becomes to the amount of time actually put into it.
Yeah, no, I mean that's like the $1 million question for everybody is how do you price your product?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much exactly what you said. Like I know where I have to be, and you can be like, okay, at this level I'm making minimum wage. At this level I'm making a decent wage, and at this level I can grow sustainably. And just like you said, and then you got to figure out what you have and what the market will bear and what people are willing to pay for, and then what I would want to pay for it if I saw it in a store, like what I think it's legitimately worth. And there's like or what is worth, and like there's a pretty big like I don't know, like factor of I could bump this up, I could bump this down, and I don't know. It's yeah, $1 million question. I don't have the I don't have the right answer.
That's fair. The only reason I asked that specifically right now is because I had a guy that we contract weld with every once in a while. He does some welding for us, and we were having a very interesting conversation in the job shop world where we'll be working on a part and something will go wrong, and it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to charge my customer for that because that's not the fault of the part. That's something that happened externally to it, or I get called over here, and so it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to charge him for that time, and so you might have 4 or 5 hours into it, but you might only charge like an hour or two, at least in the job shop side. And it's like, are you undercutting yourself? Like, are you selling yourself short? Because stuff does happen, but at what point does some of that stuff that happens, is that part of the cost of the part, or are you just trying to be too nice and selling yourself short? And I know with product stuff it's a little bit different, but sometimes it's the question of, do you sell yourself short sometimes because you look at something and go, well, I would never pay that for that, so you make sure that it's a price that you would feel comfortable paying yourself.
Oh no, 100%. I mean, like I'm sure every one of us has like worked for a measly amount of money. When you start working the numbers backwards, you're like, wow, that was a terrible choice on my part. But like, and that's the nice thing about like a job shop. Yeah, you have to have like, you gotta be pretty good on your quoting. It's really easy to eat it. Whereas in my world, I kind of know where the difficulties are going to lie. And if I have the same difficulty multiple times in a row, I can just kind of roll that into the price and, increase the price, decrease the price, whatever it has to be. And yeah, I'd say it's way easier for an actual product. I don't want to be a job shop. Your world scares me.
Well, to be fair, I'm only in the job shop space to get experience and eventually maybe move over to the product space. That's kind of been the ultimate goal. Although if I ever was to like split the company, I'd have like two different divisions, a product division and a job shop division. And I would live in the product division because the job shop space is very stressful.
No, I saw your deck defenders there. Those are cool. Like I think those definitely have some legs, but like you say, you probably got to find the right market for them.
Yeah. I've had a lot of people who actually get their hands on them and mess with them. They all really, really like them. And so I've realized that I'm just horrible at marketing. And so that is my number one problem is like I can make a good product. I just can't convince people to look at it.
No, totally. Yeah. Well, and it could be one of those weird things too, right? Like where, yeah, let's say you can make it for $10 and sell it for 30 or 40. You might have more success selling it at like 80 or 90, you know, because it just like it drums up different views in people's heads. And it's like that's also part of like pricing things out is just like playing this like mental game with people. And it's I don't know.
Yeah. It's weird because I'm reminded of a story I heard. I think it was Yeti. Back when they first got started, they almost went under, and they brought in like this marketing guy that came in. He said, raise your price like 4x or 5x. And they're like, you're crazy. He's like, do it. And then like they started selling stuff off the shelves like crazy and couldn't keep up with demand. And
right.
so
Yeah.
like there is something to be said about a high price can drive demand, which is so backwards of like what you would think.
Yeah, no doubt.
We finally raised the price on our carabiners, something we've been needing to do for a while, because the pricing was still based on the old like version A from the laser cut blanks.
Yeah.
Now everything is all machined. And is that a Rev A?
I think it's one of your first ones. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but the new ones are much better.
No worries.
So just buy another one. So our pricing was still based on the old, much easier to make models, and we increased our prices. And I pay attention to the dollar amount. I haven't been paying attention to the actual units sold, but I can tell you our average weekly sales were almost identical. Like you wouldn't have been able to see a difference. Granted, it's only been I think a week, 2 weeks. Scott says, man. So I'm curious to see what it does in the next couple of weeks. But we sold the same dollar amount, which implies to me that we sold a few less carabiners, but with much more profit. So,
I think people are just kind of like sick of like the race to the bottom. Like, I think everybody is willing to like spend more to get more. Like, if it's better built or more quality and it costs more, like people are totally willing to do that. Like, it's people like, I would rather sell less at more than more at less. Like, it's just.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely the more profitable way to do it.
Well, it's not even just the more profitable ways. There's a lot of pride you have whenever you're able to actually put the time and like, if you have a vision of a product, do you want to make a product that's like, I am doing everything I can do to cut down the cost to make this the cheapest, most economical thing possible? Or do you have the mindset of like, I want to make this thing like stand out. When people grab it, I want them to pause and look at it and go, what is going on here? Why does this hold my attention, a little bit longer than it normally would? There's so many little details and things that you can do that you just can't really find in massive manufacturing. Like like the smaller batch stuff that you're doing, you drive a customer that is not focusing on, hey, I just need something that puts ink on paper. Like it's a completely different customer. If someone wanted to put ink on paper, they can do it for under $1.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. Crystal Bics are amazing pens and they're like pennies. Yeah.
So I mean, it's just a completely different mindset, and being able to put that time and effort into it. There's that artistry kind of side of it that's just really cool. And a lot of people, like I've never been an art guy, but things like cars that people put a lot of time into, it's like functional art. Like that's how I define it, is like a functional art, and seeing that in all the different aspects of life, it's like I want all the functional art because it's something I can appreciate, because I can't really see the artistry in a painting. Like if you start showing me all these different paintings, it's like, cool, they use these different pigments. I'm partially colorblind, so like I don't get it. But like if you show me someone who's like been working on like trying to make two pieces of metal fit together in such a way that it's like, how did they do that? Or like the finish, like how did they get that texture? Like there's a tactile element to it that just it's that tactile element of artistry that really really gets to me more than anything else. And I think a large group of people as well.
Oh yeah,
That's something I've been getting into a little bit more recently, like the kind of the art side. And it's basically, I found the genre of art that I enjoy doing, and it's like the generative stuff. And like I've just been having a blast doing that, and I wish I just had more time to just focus on that for a while and just experiment and try different things. Because we just finished up the second coin; those are all 100% shipped at this point. And I started working on, three different algorithms, or three different projects, I should say. One is the pen we're working on is going to have some generative elements on it, so I've been working on coding that. And then also, so there's two different algorithms that I have in progress for that. And then also, I'm working on on generative scales for just the classic Swiss Army knife. It's kind of my first step into knife making. And so the other night I spent, I don't know, an hour or two tuning my existing generative algorithm to work really well on these scales here.
Yeah, no, I'm a
sorry,
huge fan of your generative work. I think that's super cool. Like, especially because it's like you get the uniqueness, but the way you've automated it, I don't know, it's super cool. I'm big into all that. And if you wrap that around a pen or something like that, I think it would do really well.
Yeah, that's the plan. I'm going to use the same grid style algorithm that I've been using, but cylindrical. And then I'm also have one that basically you start with it'd be a ring around the pen, and then that ring will slowly get distorted as you like go up the pen. So, and both of those will be a grip section on the pen.
Nice.
I haven't actually tried that one yet, but I've started the program, but not far enough where I can hit and go and see results yet. So,
yeah, no, I think that'd be super cool.
One thing that you kind of hinted at a little bit that it'd be interesting to see as you continue to grow, AJ, would be that the customize to make your own product, like having variables that you can adjust and having it generate on its own. That's an element that I don't think I've seen anywhere else. That is a really cool element of that It's kind of that generative art, but it's from a little bit of a different angle. Kind of giving the customer the ability to customize it in ways that no one really does. So,
which
I'd like
there's good reason for, because it's kind of a pain. But actually, I should reapproach that with some of the new coding experience I've gotten. Because when I was doing that last time, it was my first time ever using Python, except maybe a little bit in college. But I'm feeling quite a bit more confident now. I'm still not good at it, but I can muddle more effectively. Plus, and this is actually a real factor, now we have ChatGPT, which makes coding, especially in something fairly simple, much easier. So, yeah, it's something I want to get back to. I wonder if my website where you could design your own pry bar is still live. It might be. But yeah, I would love to do like a fully parametric pen, or really a fully parametric knife would be awesome. Fixturing is just hard. Fixturing is not hard.
Yeah, for a knife that would be very challenging.
Yeah.
So Curt, got another question for you.
Yeah.
If you had to choose another product line that you would want to go into other than pens, what would it be and why?
I bought a bunch of stuff for flashlights. I would love to get into like an electromechanical. Whatever I make, I want to go more complicated. Like just the intricacies of making things more mechanical is that appeals to me way more than making something like more simple. So a flashlight would be high on my list. And I have no idea how well it would ever do. But like metal puzzles, like really high end metal puzzles, like there's YouTube channels devoted to this. I would love to get into that. That's kind of what I wanted to start off doing. But yeah, it's crazy small market, but the prices are also insane.
That's where your name came from.
That's where my name came from.
Oh, put two and two together.
Yeah,
I like it.
That's something I'd love to work into it. But yeah, got to kind of make money when make hay while the sun shines. And yeah, right now pens are shining quite brightly for me. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep pushing that train.
Well, what you need to do is I've seen some people make kind of the pen lights pin flashlights. Like it's the size of a pin, the diameter of a pin. They have really tiny batteries. I had a friend, he's huge into knives, and he has like an insane knife collection of like many thousands of dollars. And he also has like lots of flashlights and things. But he was showing me this one pin flashlight that he had that used a quadruple A batteries, which I've never heard of before or ever seen. And it was literally the size of a pen. Like it was ridiculously, it was thinner than a double A or than a triple A battery. Like the housing was about the diameter of a triple A battery, and it was just, but it was insanely bright, and it was really small, and just like you couldn't tell. Like a lot of the flashlight pins that I've seen use the triple A batteries, and so they're bigger, but this was ridiculously thin, and it was so cool.
That's pretty slick. Yeah, that's cool.
So
it's cool how much like the tech is advanced in that arena for just like battery technology and like LEDs, and it's amazing how you can get, like, I have a flashlight in my pocket right now. It's a few hundred lumens, which isn't thousands of lumens, but like it's as big as my thumb, and it's like $30-$40. It's incredible what can be created now. And I have a giant flashlight over there that's like 5,000 lumens or something ridiculous. Like it's amazing what's available.
Oh yeah, it is quite insane. Both the LED technology and the battery technology. So yeah, that's crazy.
Going back to business and workshops a little bit more here. So Curt, if you were wanting to grow right now, like if you were wanting to push your business further, what would you need to improve? Like, where's your bottleneck? Is it equipment? Is it just your time? Is it your marketing?
Right now, my biggest bottleneck would be finishing, but finishing kind of rolls back to how good the finishes come off the machines. So, I mean, the Hardinge I love. It's a great lathe. It doesn't have tailstock support, so that's my biggest limiting factor for making long stick-out things. So I feel like I've optimized enough things that basically like the silver bullet machine, if you want to call it that, would be probably like a Y-axis lathe with live tooling and a sub. They don't give those away. So
no, they don't.
Getting to the point, and also trying to fit that into my garage. I mean, there's a few contenders I'm looking at, but that'd probably be the next kind of major jump to significantly increase production.
What about something like a Swiss?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I would love a Swiss. It's just they're rare up here. Like they're hard to come across, and if you do come across them, you know, they've cranked out 40 billion parts, which I mean they do last a long time. So I mean, yeah, I would love to come across an old Swiss, but I'm not holding my breath.
I've got a lead on a Tsugami in Michigan that was like, it's like a 16 millimeter machine, and it's like $7,000 or $8,000.
Yeah, see, that's totally like I'm so envious of you guys in the States, where it's just like, oh yeah, down the road I have this blank, like, and it's not a big deal. You can import it into Canada.
Michigan.
You can do it.
Michigan's basically Canada.
It's not that difficult. It's just there's headache to that as well. But
to be fair, the big mill that I wanted was in Canada.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at some used equipment, and I called on a Doosan. It was a 2015, and I called up the used dealer, and I was like, "Hey, just out of curiosity, where's this machine at?" And they're like, "It's up in Canada." I'm like, shipping is going to cost so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The weird thing about the used machine market where we are right now is there's a lot of industry around here. And there used to be a lot more, 20, 30 years ago. But all of these small machines that you could fit in your garage, very expensive.
Of course.
All of the big machines, like if you want a VF4 or a VF5, super cheap because there's so many of them around. And they're not being snapped up by people like me who just want to throw them in a smaller space.
No, absolutely. It's same thing here. Like there's oil field is pretty big up here. And yeah, if you want a big machine, sure, there's 10 I can point you at right now. But if you want a garage size machine, you're going to pay for it.
Yep. And from what I've heard, the Canada property prices are kind of insane. Is that affecting your area too? Like if you wanted to find a house like mine with a nice big workshop behind it? Is that just impossible in your area?
Not really. I'm not in a major city. I mean, I'm in a major city, but I'm not like most of this information you hear is probably like Vancouver, Toronto, like the huge hubs of Canada, which, yeah, property's insane there. But everywhere else, it's a bit more expensive than you guys, but it's fairly comparable.
Okay. Yeah, we're in a very cheap area. At least I am. I don't know about Harrison, but
Yeah, it's pretty cheap, relatively speaking. I mean, the building we got was it was a really good deal, but it was way cheaper than what most people are paying for houses. So
I was just kind of for fun was looking at shop spaces in this area, and in our city where we are, they are between $10 and $20 per square foot. If you go down to Indianapolis, they quickly get up over $100 per square foot.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I bought my house right before the huge COVID stuff and the price hiking, and it was right around $100 a foot. It was right before everything started going to the moon, and now everything around here I think is closer to like $160 a foot.
I don't know what ours was per square foot. We were able to buy this house because of the big price raises, though, because we were coming from Indianapolis, where the prices escalated a lot more than they did out here. Out here, they went up, I don't know, a little bit. But in Indianapolis, in the course of like 6 months, the price of our house doubled. Wow. And so we were able to, get a much, much nicer place for, basically the same price. I think our mortgage amount was almost exactly the same, even though the house value is more than double.
Yeah, me and my wife kind of had a similar experience. We sold our old place, and it was like right when COVID started. So we got a decent price for the house, and then the house we purchased, like everything cratered. So we paid significantly less. So yeah, it was lucky.
So I've been looking at mills. I've been looking at like the Haas mini mill. Basically, any machine that I have on my wish list right now costs more than my first house did. My first house was $58,000.
That's insane.
You don't see that anymore.
That's insane. No, that's, yeah. Add a zero to that, and you're kind of near our pricing up here, but yeah.
Yeah.
But your house can't machine things.
That's true. My house doesn't make money. It just costs money. Actually, that's not true. My last house made me a lot of money because of appreciation.
Yeah, no, I don't think real estate's ever a bad investment. So,
so looking through your pen collection here, what would you say is your favorite pen to machine?
I mean, like lately, for the last like 2 years, I've been doing nothing but bolt actions. It's like the only pen I make.
But I mean, not just lately. Like, what would be probably your favorite pen that you've machined just in general?
Honestly, probably the bolt action, just because there's so many parts into it, and like if you mess up on anything, it kind of goes south. I don't know. I find that interesting. That's fun for me. Yeah, I don't know. That would be like making simple pens was fun because I could make them at like a more reasonable cost for people that just kind of wanted to get into it. But the complication is just more interesting.
Yeah. Oh, I remember when I saw this a while ago. I've actually, now that I got you on here, it'd be great to ask. You came up with like a 3D printed basket for ultrasonic cleaning.
Oh yeah.
How's that been working?
Oh, that works. So I just used it today. Yeah, it's amazing. I print. That one's actually ABS. Actually, I just used that today as well. Because I found like in the ultrasonic, everything would, if it like ran into another, especially if you leave it in there long enough, you'd get little rub marks. So yeah, 3D printing works amazing. It was a little bit of a battle trying to get something that like didn't warp and curl, but I have one old printer that still uses ABS, so I just print everything in ABS for that, and yeah, super useful.
Yeah, because we got an ultrasonic cleaner, I want to say probably 6 months ago now, and we were trying to use it to clean some parts, and it kept rubbing, and so we got to the point where we were putting like basically one part in at a time, and we were super frustrated. And I happened to be looking through, I don't know if it was a video or Instagram, but I saw that, and I was like, that is the most ingenious solution I've ever seen.
Yeah, actually, I
And
ended up talking with an ultrasonic company because I wanted to know if I made a grid like that where I could put parts in, if I stacked them up, like how it would would it be detrimental to the cleaning effect? And they're like, nah, they're like as long as you have like water flow around the parts. I mean, like obviously you're blocking the
Mhm.
sound waves from hitting it. But yeah, I haven't had issues. Like I stack those things up sometimes 5, 6 deep, and it works really, really well.
That's
We just
awesome.
bought miniature fryer baskets for cleaning our parts in. Because we had issues where we had, the normal wire mesh basket and the scales on the not so tactical carabiners. These ones happen to not have scales on it, but the smallest straight scales could fall through the mesh we had, and so we had to get one with a finer mesh. And now we kind of use them to carry around parts in. Like the basket follows the parts through a couple steps, which has been handy.
Do you find like the basket ends up scratching your parts? Because that was my issue. Like no matter what I did, unless it was like completely suspended, like even plastic, I changed the way I used a certain jig because I could get scratching from plastic. And this is in titanium, which is kind of mind blowing.
So we have two finishes that we sell right now: powder coated and stone washed.
Oh, okay.
The stone washed ones is a scratch pattern already, so you don't see it. There's nothing visible there. And then the powder coated ones, they get powder coated afterwards. So
Right.
So I got another question perusing through, because this is another thing. I haven't actually talked to anyone who's done this yet, but I'm noticing that you have what the industry is effectively called the Pearson boards.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to ask about those.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Because it's something that I don't have a product right now that could justify anything like that. And there's one of you right now. So it's not like, I feel like most of the Pearson boards get benefit like the more people you have. So being a solo show with a Pearson board, how's that working for you? Or I don't know what you're calling it, but
yeah, basically that's what I call them. Yeah, that's how I looked them up to find them. It's super helpful. I just love not being able to not having to think about it. Like just taking that 3 seconds of brain time of being like, okay, what am I working on this morning? Just having it telling me exactly what to do is yeah. Even if you're just a solo shop, it makes it so much more efficient. You don't have to spend that a few seconds of figuring stuff out, and you can build in the order. Like looking at it, I think my pen has like 6 or 7 parts. And there's a few ways I could build it, but certain things, if they come before the other thing, makes life a lot easier. So just having a flow chart would be like, oh, right, I don't do it that way because it, saves me from doing a collet change out on the lathe, or, I don't have to change out this drill as fast or whatever. So yeah, I would suggest it for everybody.
So with your board, then it sounds like, are you putting notes on there, or do you actually organize it in a particular flow? Like,
yeah, actually, I ended up doing a YouTube video on this as well, but I basically have a flow. So I start at the top and then I move magnets along each spot and it tells me what operation it is on what piece of equipment. And then when I hit certain points, I have little color codes that tell me to jump to the next part. And then I kind of move along that one until I hit another color code. And the color codes just kind of let me bounce around.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's been super helpful.
Do you have multiple parts running concurrently, or are you doing one thing, focusing on that, switching to a new part, doing that, switching to a new part? Or do you parallelize things at all?
Yeah, I mean, some things parallel. Like the mill and the lathe now run some parts together. So I try to time cycles. So if I know the mill is going to be a 15-minute cycle, I try to time it with a long lathe cycle, or a short lathe cycle with a long mill part. That works too. So yeah, it's probably. I was trying to think. I lost my train of thought here on something else, but can't remember where I was going with that. Yeah, anyways, yeah, just basically making it so that I'm not, because if you have a short lathe cycle and a short mill cycle, as I'm sure Harrison would know, you're just running around with your hair on fire, and you're like, the chances of making a mistake are so huge. So it's just like,
yeah,
avoid that.
So true. Oh, I had another thought that I've just now lost. I love it.
Are you programming in Fusion?
You bet. Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. I actually jumped in. An old employer paid me to learn CAD, and I ended up learning a Libra because it was the only one that I could afford a license for. I mean, it was still thousands of dollars a year. So I used that forever. And then when Fusion came out, I was like, yep, we're changing this immediately. So yeah, big fan.
Okay. Remember my question now. lean, is that something that you look into a lot, or do you kind of, is that something that like, have you drunk the juice that is lean
The
and
lean
started
juice.
trying to implement it everywhere, or is it something that you kind of know about and haven't messed with, or is it something that you've had
No,
past experience with and it's like, I don't want to mess with that?
no, 100%. I mean, I just hate the word because everyone throws it around thinking that it's like
I
the cheap way to go about things. It's like lean is so expensive. No, for sure. Like I'm a big fan, like the incremental or continuous improvement
yeah.
podcast. I know probably both of you guys listen to that one. That one's amazing. I
Yeah.
love that stuff. I love geeking out on all that junk. So yeah, every single batch I'm looking to optimize. So that's definitely
Yeah.
a huge part of my world.
What's some of the like biggest lean improvements that you've encountered where like you've been doing something one way for so long and then all of a sudden it's like I just changed this one thing and it's like it's a whole new world. It's like, it could be as simple as like moving a toolbox like a few inches to one direction. It's like, oh, now I can do this or do that.
Yeah. Actually, just exactly what you said. I moved a tool block on my turret because the only way to get bars in the lathe are I have to go on the back side of it and open it because it has a pneumatic feed, so it can bar feed with a pneumatic piston. But to put new bars in, you have to go on the back side. So I realized if I moved my turret to a certain position and moved a tool block, I could put the bars in the front of the lathe, and then I wouldn't have to go around back and take the fittings off. So yeah, it's something like so stupid. But yeah, it saves me whatever 3 minutes every bar change. So it's probably paid for itself 30 times over by now. But
Yeah.
Just I don't know, little dumb things like that.
Yeah, it's the little things like we have so many little 3D printed things around the shop that just it's like everything's within an arm's reach and making sure that like all of your tooling is organized where it's like where everything's at. Like I used to think people who were hyper organized were kind of annoying. But like once you start organizing all your stuff and get into a work environment, it's like, no, it has a place and it has a place for a reason. And I really like having it in that place because I can always walk over and know that's where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, no, I'm 100%. I'm super particular about that stuff. Like all my drawers are all Kaizen foamed. Like all my tools are in little ball. Like like AJ's Gridfinity system.
Yep.
I have all the boxes of that stuff. But yeah, I like organizing. I like neat things.
Yeah, the Gridfinity system has been great, and I haven't really showed this much, but we have the Shelfinity system, which is the AJ version of it that's all laser cut. And that's been also super handy. And now all of our Kanbans are the Shelfinity system. So they neatly lock into a nice little base plate, and we keep our inventory neatly in lines. The only problem we have is, so we have this nice Kanban system, but our production is so far behind that basically all of our Kanbans are waiting to be filled, and like we might as well just be making everything to order at this point. But I'm really excited for when we get caught up and the Kanban system can actually go into action.
Yeah, you gotta go down to single piece flow. That's where all the cool kids play.
Speaking of single piece flow, is that what you do with some of your stuff, or do you kind of do batch? Is it?
Yeah, I'm slowly starting to try to reduce my batches, just because batch work is just painful. Ideally, I would love to get down to just like one pen comes off the machine, like all parts flow through, and obviously everyone wants to get to that point. But yeah. I probably halved my batch size. I used to do much bigger batches, and it's not efficient. Like you're spending so much time waiting, and then if you make an error, it cascades down the whole system. So
Yep.
Trying to balance that, like, that's a problem too. Some of the part cycles are like, especially on the lathe, like they might be 20 seconds. So I mean, making one of those feels, especially if you have to do a changeover after that, it's like, well, this is pointless. Like I want to batch it out. I want to make 1,000 of them, but it's like, well, it doesn't make sense either. So yeah.
The amount of carabiners that I could make in a day skyrocketed when I went from the fixture that used to have 28 carabiners on it to the fixture I have now that I have 8, or I can run a half fixture of 4. I'm making way more carabiners now.
Yeah, when you probably have a couple, so you can quick swap them, right? So you can load them offline or take them up. Or are you not doing that?
I actually don't have duplicates of the fixtures that I'm running right now.
Okay.
But it's not difficult to get the material in and out.
And you are looking at your next system having some kind of a 0 point system, right?
Yep, I'm going to go to a Lang system next.
Nice.
And they have an option where normally it's like you use a torque wrench to tighten it down, but they have an option that's lever actuated, and I think I'm going to go that route.
Yeah. That.
So is it like a quarter turn or half turn
with the lever?
Yeah,
I'm not actually sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's I'm not sure if it's a quarter or a full 180.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish I had more mill parts because that seems fun.
You make a knife.
No, I'm staying out of that arena for a while. There's so much. I dipped my toe into there and I was like, nope. So
why? What was the nope?
I mean, I'd want to do everything. So I would definitely want to do heat treat. I would want to do all the grinding. It's just a lot of, like, I built my shop around round part.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's a whole bunch of added equipment for me. And I don't think I have an idea that would compete with some of the crazy stuff people are cranking out. So yeah, until I find like super interest in it. I have a few like knife ideas, but most of those are still round and way down on the list of importance.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It is a crazy amount of new equipment that you need. And that's why I'm like slowly stepping into it piece by piece by like, phase 1 is do knife scales for an existing knife, like this this Swiss Army knife. Phase 2, I found full-size disposable blades that they get used for like hunting or skinning knives.
Oh, like those Kearshaws or whatever?
The company I was looking at was like Outland or Overland.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. I'd have to look them up again. But it's basically a full-size knife blade that's, replaceable, and they're not too expensive. They're not as cheap as razor blades, but they're not bad. And so that's a way of doing a full knife without needing to do heat treat. And then after that, I can move into doing, the full shebang.
Oh, that's a way to do it for sure. Yeah, that's.
So your mill, looking through here, you've done a lot of stuff to it, haven't you? Over as time's been going on.
Oh yeah, it's it's kind of blood from a. The problem is like it gets used for 2 or 3 operations, so it's not like. Yeah, it's a tiny machine, but it's not my bottleneck. Like it does what it has to do, and it's like I could grow so much further and not need a mill for a long time. So yeah, it just kind of been. I was like, well, I'll just do this, and that'll get me through for another few months. And I'll just do this; it'll get me. And now it's at the point where it's just ridiculous. It's like it's quadrupled its cost from what you would buy it off the floor, which is kind of ridiculous.
Is that something that you would? If you could snap your fingers today and trade it out with something else, you would do it? Or do you have too much sweat equity into it that it's like, I'm going to hang on to this for the rest of my life?
I mean, yeah, I'm probably never going to get rid of it because it's pointless. Like I'll never recoup the amount of money I put into it. If I could go back and do it again, I would just buy like a 440 or something small, like just a tiny mill, and just move along with that because it's probably more rigid than what I currently have. But this was, I bought this because I was playing with it. And then I added this, and you added this, and just like people building up their project cars, and it's like, okay, I have a $250,000 car that I got there $1,000 at a time. So
yeah.
Well, you've made some really, really pretty parts with it.
Thank you.
Looking at your pen clips, I really like them.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, it's been it's been fun. I would love to, like I said, I'd love to have I was looking at talking with AJ about the X5, but it just doesn't make sense. There's so little milled parts that I deal with day to day that it's just my money's better spent elsewhere.
But then you could make a knife.
I could make a knife. It just doesn't get my juices flowing. It just doesn't do it for me yet.
If you were to add another product, let's say, I don't know, pens become illegal and you had to switch products, what does excite you? What else would be, you think, next down the road?
It would probably be a flashlight. Probably would be a flashlight. I would love to go watch because that just seems like the ultimate mechanical complexity.
Yeah.
But that's a big leap. That's a big leap into all kinds of. I mean, especially if you want to make everything. That's an intense road. It'd be a fun one though. I would love to go that way.
Yeah, doing watch cases
Yeah.
isn't that unreasonable. Yeah. One of the projects I really want to get back to is I did a aluminum case for a Casio F91W or 91F or whatever. It's like the stereotypical, 1990s Timex watch. And was it Timex? Now I'm even doubting the brand. Or Casio. I don't know. Whatever it was. And I did one iteration of it and never got back around. It's a Casio F91W. I never got back around to finishing that project. And I really, really want to do watch cases for that.
Yeah, no, I remember watching you do those. That's cool. I like that. I like that kind of stuff. I know one guy's doing a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna make a joke about a parametric watch case. You were saying?
I can't. I'm blanking on his name right now. I know he's doing, I think, Apple Watch cases, all out of titanium, all machined. Like, they're beautiful. I mean, if you're into those,
it's not Titan Ring or Titan.
No, Titan Ring is doing some really cool. He's doing actually a cool 24-hour watch face that I've kind of been enthralled with, and those cool ring boxes. But no, I forgot. I'll remember it after this podcast. But
yeah.
Well, Curt, where can people find you if they want to go buy a pen or say hi?
Confounded Machine, confoundedmachine.com. It's the easiest one. Instagram, you can find me under Confounded Machine, and YouTube. If you punch in Confounded Machine, you'll find me. But if you Curt Van Filipowski is my name on YouTube, and yeah, all roads point to me.
Any final thoughts for this episode?
No, I want to see you build your pen. I'm really interested in following the progress there. I saw Harrison turn some parts for it, and yeah, I want to see how that plays out. It looks super cool. The mechanism looks pleasing to play with. So
hopefully next week will be Pen Week. That's what I'm hoping.
And you're gonna launch that as a Kickstarter?
Yes.
Speaking of turning on that thing, I ended up like having to go so slow to bore out his pens. When you're turning them in oil, can you go pretty fast, or just out of curiosity, like how fast?
Yeah, I mean, my SFMs are probably still really low. I don't think I go much above. Oh no, for drilling, I'm drilling pretty slow. I think I'm drilling at about like 1200 RPM, so pretty slow. Okay. I don't know how slow you're spinning, but
I was probably going about that. I wasn't going very fast because it was getting really hot on the inside. The aluminum was.
Right.
And I had to peck it so slow, and I had to like pull way back and shoot like coolant down into the pen, or down into there, to make sure. The very first one I did, I had the main body of it way past the end of the spindle, like it was way inside the spindle bore.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually melted the end and bent it down, and I actually drilled out of the wall of the pen. And
in aluminum?
In aluminum. And so we couldn't pull it out of the nose of the machine. It had like twisted the aluminum and bent it down. And like somewhere I have a photo of it, and it's just like, okay, that was way too fast.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I don't know you'd melt aluminum doing that.
Yeah, I basically melted it and twisted it. So,
Curt, do you make your pen bodies out of rod or tube?
Rod. Yeah.
Okay.
Titanium is a weird one where like I started buying tube and then just like opening it up because I couldn't get the ID that I wanted. But titanium is one of those things where it's easier to drill rod than it is to like just drill a little bit of tube. Like just having more of a chip helps. I mean, having through coolant would help a ton. But gotta use what you have, I suppose. So yeah, I'm in your same boat, Harrison. Just like pack city to get to where I need to be.
But to be fair, if you're only making 3 or 4 pens a day, that amount of time, probably in the grand scheme of the amount of time that you put into a pen, is probably pretty marginal.
Yeah, I think it's more just about like a surface finish. Like it's not the time that I care so much about, but if I could nail it in one blast, I'd probably have way better surface finish for reaming, or just even be able to skip the whole reaming step. So that'd be the main saving grace.
So do you ream the whole pen, or do you just ream this part where your mechanism's at?
Whole pen, yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Good to know.
The music starts.
The music starts, which is signal the end, the beginning of the end.
I need to change parts in the mill, and I'm tired.
I'm tired too. Don't worry.
Well, cool. Thanks for inviting me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming,
Curt, we appreciate you coming on. You know, AJ kind of surprised me with this morning, so I'm super excited to have another guest on.
No, same here.
So we'll definitely like to have you back. I'd love to continue to pick your brain, especially when I have more than 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No, get some sleep, get your work done, and yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you guys. I enjoy listening to you like every week, so it's kind of cool to geek out with you guys.
Oh yeah. No, I always enjoy having guests on. I know AJ does too. So, anyways, so this is Harrison with Precision Ingenuity signing out with AJ from Design to Everything and Curt, our guest from I'm gonna get your name wrong again. What is it?
Confounded Machine.
Confounded Machine. That's right. I gotta think puzzle boxes on that. So we appreciate you coming on. And I'm going to have to do a lot more research before we have our next guest so that I'm a little more prepared.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
The farthest we've ever gone into the song.